The 9th Battalion, London Regiment was a Territorial Army infantry battalion of the British Army. The London Regiment was formed in 1908 in order to regiment the various volunteer force battalions in the newly formed County of London, and the Queen Victoria's Rifles were one of 26 units brought together in this way. Early history. The Queen Victoria's Rifles could trace their origins back to the old volunteer regiments of the Napoleonic Wars, when the Duke of Cumberland's sharpshooters were formed as a corps of riflemen on September 5, 1803. Many transformations occurred over the next century until the passing of the Territorial and Reserve Forces Act came into effect on April 1, 1908, and the old volunteer regiments were reorganized into the new territorial force. In this way, the QVRs were formed by the amalgamation of 1st Middlesex Volunteer Rifle Corps, 19th Middlesex Volunteer Rifle Corps. World War I. The QVRs arrived in Le Havre on November 5, 1914, one of the first territorial battalions to serve in France. They were attached to the 13th Brigade of the 5th Division. On April 17, 1915, an attack was mounted on Hill 60 by the 13th Brigade, which included 2nd Battalion, King's Own Scottish Borderers, 2nd Battalion, Duke of Wellington's Regiment, 1st Battalion, Queen's Own Royal West Kent Regiment, 2nd Battalion, King's Own Yorkshire Light Infantry. Queen Victoria's Rifles. The hill was a small promontory on the edge of the Ypres salient that afforded good views for the Germans across the British lines and into Ypres. It was therefore of great tactical significance to both sides, who fought with great gallantry. Prior to the attack, the hill had been undermined for days, with 5 galleries being driven under the German positions. The plan was to detonate large mines under the hill to destroy the enemy and the positions. Then the 13th Brigade would occupy the area. The hill was captured on April 17 and on April 20. 2.5 companies of the QVRs were ordered up to the front line as the enemy made a counter-attack. At dawn on the 21st of April, the Germans began bombarding the QVRs with hand grenades. Casualties were heavy, including 2 officers, Major Lees and Lieutenant Summerhays, who were killed. It was then that Lieutenant Geoffrey Harold Woolley left a position of safety to take command of the soldiers on the hill. Only 40 QVRs were left in the front line, but by rallying the troops with encouragement and letting the men know that reinforcements were on the way, Woolley helped repulse the counter-attack by throwing bombs at the advancing Germans. For his gallantry, Lieutenant Woolley was awarded the Victoria Cross, the first to be won by the Territorial Force. The QVRs remained in France for the rest of the war. The losses are remembered at Hill 60 by the QVR Memorial and at the nearby QVR Café and Museum. Post-World War I. Between the wars, the 9th London Regiment was affiliated to the King's Royal Rifle Corps and reconstituted as 2 motorised infantry battalions and became the Territorial Army units of the KRC. World War II. At the outbreak of World War II, 1 QVR and 2 QVR were formally made part of the King's Royal Rifle Corps, becoming the 7th and 8th KRC battalions respectively. The 7th KRC were designated a motorcycle reconnaissance battalion and armed with revolvers instead of rifles. As part of the 30th Infantry Brigade, they were hurriedly sent across the English Channel, but due to an error, the motorcycles and sidecars were left in England. They fought in the desperate operation at Calais between 23 and the 26th of May 1940, which bought valuable time for the main battle of Dunkirk. All were either killed or captured, and the battalion had to reconstitute from scratch. Both battalions served with distinction throughout the rest of the war. Queen Victoria's Rifles were merged with the Queen's Westminster's Gloucester formed the Queen's Royal Rifles on May 1, 1961. Sources: Keeson CAC. The History and Records of the Queen Victoria's Rifles 1792–1922. Constable and Company Limited, London. QVR at www.regiments.org.